Fighters have mastered the art of combat, wielding weapons with unmatched skill and wearing armor like a second skin. In this video today, we're going to go through building out a fighter. Now, maybe this is your first character. Perhaps you want to respec one of your companions into a fighter. Whatever the case is, we'll go through that here today. We'll start out at level 1, looking at fighter on a very base level to discuss the character creation process, go into a discussion about your subclass options, talk a little bit about some standout feats, and close the video out going into some strong multi-class options. You can quickly navigate to any part of this video that interests you the most using the chapters in both the timeline and the description. And please don't forget to check me out on Twitch, where I do stream every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday? Saturday. It's Saturday. Every Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday. You can also find a link to all of my other class guides in the description at the end of this video. Let's get started here on how to build a fighter for beginners in Baldur's Gate 3. To start off, we're going to talk about race. Now, race is not important in the sense that this is a single-player narrative game. Choose the race that you want to roleplay as because that's what's going to allow you to have the most fun in the game. The abilities are all the same for every single race. You are going to choose which ability score gets either +2 or +1. These little check boxes will do that for you. So please choose whatever one makes the most sense for you. Now, as far as some particularly standout options, we do have the dwarfs, which are always great. Keep in mind you're playing a fighter, so you have access to all weapons and all armor proficiencies. So any of the race-given ones are not going to be very beneficial to you. But dwarfs do get an innate advantage on saving throws against poison, and the gold dwarf is quite good because they get 1 additional max hit point and increase by 1 every time you gain a level. So they are constantly just going to have more and more hit points as you level up, and you can couple this with the feat that gives you 2 more hit points. So that's getting a total of what, like 3 hit points from being a gold dwarf with that feat. Shield dwarf is fine and all, but it's armor proficiencies you get, so it's kind of wasted. The Dwagar are pretty cool here too, because they get a lot more than what you see on this screen. So of course they get their advantages on charmed and paralysis, which is good, and they get superior dark vision, which is always nice. But eventually they'll get enlarge and invisibility at levels 3 and 5. And enlarge is good for a fighter because it's going to enable you to do more damage, but all quite nice options. You can go with any of the elves or half-elves if you so wish. Humans are a really good choice here because of human versatility. You're going to get an extra skill proficiency, which is nice, and your carrying capacity is increased by 25%, which is already going to be through the roof if you have a high amount of strength. Halflings are good because of their luck capability or lucky capability. When you roll a 1 for an attack roll, ability check, or saving throw, you can re-roll that die and must use the new roll, which is always, fun. But you also get the 2 fun ones down here with Half-Orc, which is going to give you savage attacks. When you land a critical hit with a melee weapon, you deal an extra dice of weapon damage, which is very fun. Relentless Endurance, whenever you reach 0 hit points, you're just going to instead go up to 1 hit point rather than being knocked down. It's very nice. And the nice thing too about Half-Orcs is depending upon the type of fighter and playthrough you have in mind, they start with a proficiency in Intimidation, which is really cool. And then also we have Dragonborn. I think this is the only other video other than the Barbarian video where I've recommended the Dragonborn, just because their racial features don't really seem as cool as the other ones when it comes to getting proficiencies online. But since you are a character that's going to be up close and personal, being a Dragonborn is really cool because you have your breath attack. So there are going to be multiple colors of Dragonborn that you can choose from, and you'll have pretty much 2 options for every single one, sometimes 3. But you can see here that we can be a Fire Breath Gold Dragon, or we could choose a Red Dragon with Fire Breath. So just to give you an example here. So this is going to give us a Fire Breath attack that will also get better as we level up. That's been recently patched into the game. And lastly, we get Draconic Ancestry, which is going to give us a resistance to the specific damage that we do. So in this case, for Red Dragons, we're resistant to fire damage, meaning we take half damage from fire, which is lovely. Our last suggestion here is for the Gith. I always like to skip the crackhead Gith and go with the female Gith, just because I really do like Astral Knowledge, gain proficiency in all skills of a chosen ability, meaning if I choose Charisma, then I get proficiency in Intimidation, Persuasion, Performance, Deception, all my conversational skills. All of these Martial Prodigy abilities, these proficiencies are wasted because you are a fighter, but you do get the cantrips of Mage Hand as well as the, I think it's called Astral Leap. It's basically a way to jump very far as a Gith. Enhanced Leap is what it's called. And you also get Misty Step at level 5. So all those are really nice because they do give you quite a bit of maneuverability. I did say lastly, but I do have a true lastly now. And it is with the Zariel Tiefling, because you'll be getting access to 2 smites, both Branding Smite and Searing Smite at levels 3 and 5. It is worth noting though that those smites do cost an action and a bonus action. So it can be a little hard to use them because sometimes you'll just kind of shut down other capabilities that you can do. But still, nonetheless, wanted to bring those options out for you so that you can see what you can choose for a fighter. Now, as far as fighter mechanics go, they're very slim in that you're simply going to be hitting things with a sword or whatever you want to choose to hit things with. But it's worth noting, too, that I think on paper, fighters seem very bland, very boring. Like, why am I going to play this class? But I want you to really kind of wrap your mind around how the fighter is a veritable moving juggernaut, especially if you are a pure fighter. And as you get towards the latter portions of the game with an ability called Indomitable, you become as durable as an iron golem. Whenever you fail a saving throw, you can roll again. So you pretty much have the capability to ignore certain missed saving throws. Keep in mind that does recharge every long rest. So maybe a really big missed hit, you can go ahead and re-roll again. And you get stuff like improved extra attack. You also get 1 extra feat. Only the Rogue and the Fighter, I believe, are the 2 classes that get an extra feat at level 6. Whereas everyone else gets it only at 4, 8, and 12. So you do have a lot of tools to take advantage of as a fighter. And I think a lot of people sleep on the fighter as someone that can really do a ton of damage. So I'm not going to focus on that so much today. I have a whole separate video planned for it. But some mechanics that do really stand out are this one right here, Second Wind, which will eventually become quite good. It is a healing capability that you'll have. And it's important that this is nice because A, it is a bonus action. It's going to give you 1d10 plus 1 health. And that plus 1 is going to be based off of your fighter level. So if you're level 12, that's 1d10 plus 12. And then you also get and start with your fighting style right out the gate. And it's important to kind of go over these really quickly. So we have the first one here is archery, which is going to give you +2 to ranged weapon attacks. Of course, you're going to be focused on being an archer. Defense here, you gain +1 bonus to armor class while wearing armor. So this is a nice one because no matter what route you really take as a fighter, it's always applicable, right? You know, it's like, okay, great weapon fighting, 2 weapon fighting, and archery. That kind of assumes you're taking a very specific stance as a fighter as far as what weapons you're going to be using and whatnot. Defense, you know, you just get +1 defense or +1 AC. Now, dueling is confusing for some of the people that are maybe older veterans of the D&D world. This used to, once upon a time, be called single weapon fighting, but it is not that anymore. When you are wielding a melee weapon that is not two-handed or versatile in one hand and no weapon in the other, you deal an additional 2 damage with that weapon. This doesn't mean you need to only use 1 weapon. It just means you can't dual wield or use a 2-handed weapon or versatile in 1 hand, because you can use a shield. A shield does not count as a weapon. So if you want to be a sword and shield or axe and shield or whatever shield wearing character that actually does a little bit more damage, dueling's for you because it adds 2 more damage with that weapon. Great weapon fighting here as well, you know, you guessed what it's going to be focused on. It's great weapons. When you roll a 1 or a 2 on a damage die for an attack with a 2-handed melee weapon, that die is re-rolled once. So a chance to actually get that damage on board. You have protection here, which is unique from all the other ones because this is a reaction. Remember, you have an action, bonus action, then you have reactions. The reactions are going to occur when certain things occur. So when you have a shield, impose disadvantage, and we've talked about this before, but disadvantage when you're going to roll 2 dice and take the lesser of the 2, advantage is 2 dice and take the greater of the 2, which impose disadvantage on an attack against your allies when you are within 5 feet. So basically, it allows you to kind of jump in front of their attack more or less, you know, kind of think of like Cecil from Final Fantasy IV or Final Fantasy II, depending on which one you're kind of thinking of. But just an ability to mitigate some of the damage that would otherwise hit someone might be a little bit weaker or maybe near closer to death, whatever it is. And lastly, we have 2 weapon fighting. When you make an attack with your offhand weapon, you add your ability modifier to the damage of the attack. Now, what that really means here too, if you don't know, let's say I choose strength, because I'm using strength weapons versus dex, which would use finesse weapons. But let's just say I'm using strength. Then I would use whatever this ability modifier is. Right now it's +0 because we're only at 10. Let's just say that said +2. +2 would go to my offhand. Whereas if I did not have 2 weapon fighting, I would not get that +2. So those are your fighting styles, and they're part of the mechanics of being a fighter. And one of the other big fighter mechanics I want to talk of is Action Surge. So immediately gain an extra action to use this turn. Now this happens at level 2 of Fighter, and it makes Fighter probably one of the most diverse multi-classes into other classes because it just simply gives you a whole extra action. Now of course it does have a recycle and you can't just simply use it at whim, but having that kind of clutch moment, especially if you pop a potion of speed, which will then allow you to have 3 total actions if you use Action Surge, can be a really strong alpha strike in the beginning of a combat. So this is all of our fighter mechanics that I wanted to talk about before getting into more stuff. Subclass options for the fighter are pretty straightforward. We're starting off here with the Battlemaster, which uses its superiority dice to use special maneuvers. Now you're going to start with 4 superiority dice, and these things act as a D8 that does certain things, give you certain bonuses and what have you. At level 10 though, they become D10, and they can replenish on a short or long rest. Now you have a whole ton of maneuvers here to choose from. These are all the maneuvers. You don't get an option to expand this list down the road. You'll just get access to more maneuvers as you level up. So at level 3 here, you choose 3 maneuvers. At level 7, you'll choose 2 more, bringing you to 5. And at level 10, you'll choose 2 more again, bringing you to a total of 7 maneuvers. And you can also choose the feat that gives you more new maneuvers as well. So you have quite a few to choose from here. Just to choose some really quick standout ones, you have Riposte, which is really nice because this gives you a way to kind of weaponize any miss that you deal with, right? So when a hostile creature misses you with a melee attack, expend a superiority die to retaliate with a powerful strike that deals an additional 1d8. It's a nice way to have a good reaction here. Now you can have some abilities to kind of manipulate or push enemies with pushing attack, which will do 1d8 and push them, or trip attack, which does 1d8 and knocks them prone, which is really nice as well. Now for alpha striking, you can go with something like precision attack. You can spend a superiority die to add it to the result to an attack roll, or feinting attack. You use your action and bonus actions to get advantage and deal a 1d8. So a lot of really, really great abilities here that you can go with, whichever one you see fit that works best with the role you have in mind for your fighter. Now, Eldritch Knight is kind of combining a fighter and a wizard, but not exactly. So you're only going to pull from specific schools of wizardry. Only going to pull from specifically, abjuration and evocation. So basically protection and damage abilities is essentially it. You'll get some cantrips that you can go into. So you get stuff like Shocking Grasp, which is nice. Friends, if you don't already have it on another character. Ray of Frost to give you some range capability. Whatever it is, you choose whichever ones make the most sense for you. Let's just go ahead and choose 2. Then you're going to get access to some spells. This says right here, Charisma. It's a bug. Ignore it. It's intelligence based. So this is what kind of makes the Eldritch Knight unique, in that you would swap how your stat allocation goes to have more intelligence. Or you could kind of eschew a high intelligence score and go for the more defensive capabilities that you get through abjuration, and not through most of the offensive capabilities you'd get through evocation. So you go with something like shield here, right? An abjuration spell, or protection from evil and good, an abjuration spell. You could focus on those if you wanted to still stay more strength based. You don't have to focus a ton into your intelligence, because this is just going to give you the defensive characteristic and you're good to go. The nice thing too here is that you have a high amount of constitution as a fighter, so maintaining concentration is going to be a little bit easier for you, or whatever it is. Now you'll get these access to these spells as you progress through. You'll get more spell slots and everything, just like you would for any casting character in the game. And you only have, again, access to abjuration evocation, but every so couple of levels, starting at level 3, you get access to an expanded spell. And this expanded spell is the entire, well, it's a certain subset of wizard spells, and it's all schools rather than just simply the 2 you typically focus on. So, you know, we chose these 2, but you know what, man, maybe I really wanted Magic Missile. Well, I could choose out of my expanded spell if I want, whatever it is. And as you kind of go through this, you'll get more and more options to choose these. At level 8, you'll get 2 more, and I think that's it. I'm looking at a chart here on the right, and I'm linking this in the description of the video too. So if you want to look through all of these spells you have access to before choosing, you can see that down below at the BG3 wiki. But you just basically choose these and you'll have access to them. It's almost kind of better to go with a fighter wizard, because then you get access to all the wizard spells all the time and choose and pick whatever you want and however you want to specialize that wizard, versus this kind of narrowly puts you into just 2 schools. Now, it is worth noting, though, you do get some additional abilities. So you start off here with Weapon Bond. Ritually bind the weapon in your main hand. The weapon can't be knocked out of your hand, and it automatically returns to you when thrown. So you have that at level 3. At level 7, you get War Magic. You have honed your body in Magic for War. After you cast a cantrip, you can make a weapon attack using a bonus action. So this is kind of what turns the Eldritch Knight into a little bit more fun, because that's not something that a fighter wizard multi-class gets access to, because you're basically using your primary action to cast a spell, one in this case a cantrip, that then you can use your bonus action to do a melee attack. So let's say you're up close and personal with someone, you cast Shocking Grasp, which is your cantrip, and cantrips, remember, are level 0 spells. You can cast them as many times as you have turns because they do not expend a spell slot. That's huge, versus normal spells will use your spell slots. So you use that cantrip, and then your bonus action, you follow it up with a melee attack. So it's a really cool way to kind of wombo combo. And this gets even better at level 10 because you get Eldritch Strike. So when you hit a creature with a weapon attack, it has disadvantage on its next saving throw against a spell you cast before the end of your next turn. So let's kind of set that out for you. Eldritch Strike, it's a passive capability. It's always on for you. You have to hit something with your weapon attack. So here's how you would do that. You attack something with your weapon. Well, that used your primary action. All except is a bonus action. Well, you have Action Surge, right? Because you are a fighter and you're still going to get access to Action Surge even if you go Eldritch Knight. You use Action Surge, you have another bonus act, you have another action, in which case you now can use a cantrip that the enemy will have disadvantage on saving against. So let's just say Shocking Grasp in this case. Well, remember War Magic, we just used a cantrip. Now we can use bonus action to follow up with another melee attack. So this is a really cool way to just simply get, rather than just simply doing 2 attacks with your main actions, you get the ability to do another whole basic set of damage by sprinkling in a cantrip. And because you are also a fighter, you get improved extra attack. So you are just going to be throwing attacks to the wind, because improved extra attack is a passive feature that allows you to make 2 additional attacks when making an attack action versus just your standard 1. So you have so many capabilities as a fighter to really just do a lot of really fun damage, especially even as an Eldritch Knight. Now our last one here is a champion, and this one is very bare bones. You're only going to get 4 capabilities, I suppose. At level 3, when you choose champion, the number you need to roll a critical hit while attacking is reduced by 1. So rather than hitting a 20, you need to get a 19 or a 20 to then get a critical hit with your weapon. Then at level 7, you get Remarkable Athlete, Jump, and Proficiency. So jump is going to allow you to increase your jump distance by 10 feet. And for proficiency, you're a master of your own body. Your athletic prowess extended beyond the usual. You can add half of your proficiency bonus to any strength, dexterity, and constitution checks that you are not proficient in. This can be nice. It's not amazing. And then lastly, you get to select 1 additional fighting style. So maybe you are an archer and now you want to use a 2-handed weapon. You'd get that at level 10. So it is kind of a little bit later in the game, but you still have a whole entire act that you're going to be able to jump into right when you hit level 10. So you're definitely not the end of the game. So champion, I think, is one that multi-class is better. Especially like just choosing level 3 champion and then 9 levels into barbarian is a really strong kind of rough and tough early build if you want to just play a very generic on the rails fighter. Ability points and skills are going to be unique to the type of fighter you want to make. If you want to use a archery style dex based fighter, you're going to focus predominantly on your dexterity rather than your strength. If you're going to be a strength heavy armor wearing fighter, you're going to focus on, well, your strength. But it's important to note though that if you're going to go with heavy armor, you don't need a high dexterity modifier. Yes, you can go with higher dexterity to get increased initiative and fun things like that, but heavy armor is going to negate the bonus of your dexterity. So we're going to go ahead and only put that to 10 because I'm going to assume you're going with heavy strength here. We're going to bring this up to 15, and we're going to bring our constitution up to 15 because we're a fighter. We want to have as much hit points as possible. Now, also this is going to depend upon, are you making your main character, or is this maybe Lae'zel or any of the other companions you're making into a fighter? Because that's going to determine your distribution points into charisma, if any. Let's assume this is your main character. I'm going to put this to 12 just so we get maybe a +1. And I'm going to put my wisdom up to 10 because this will allow me to kind of resist or at least help out in saving throws against charm or anything that is a wisdom based saving throw, which typically would result in me losing control of my character. So this is a pretty good baseline to go with. And a lot of people will tell you, you know, don't go with an uneven number, go with an even number, because every 2 points after 10 is what nets you a bonus to that ability check. Now, the reason I'm going with this stat spread here is because there is a point in the very, very beginning of the game in which you can be awarded any a +1 to any stat point. So you get improved ability score into strength, then you get 19 strength at level 4, and then you simply put that hag hair, it's a piece of a hag's hair, into your strength, and now you have 20 strength. You have the highest strength that you can have as far as your base stats go, and you are a juggernaut. Now, of course, you can just simply go with 16 here if you want, take those 3 extra points, maybe put them in dexterity, and take your charisma down to do something like this. If you want to maybe do this for your main character or not your main character, right? For like Lae'zel or a companion or whatever it is. I personally would just go the 17 route. It also is worth noting that your carry capacity is whatever your strength is times 15, whatever this number is, not your strength modifier, just whatever that number is times it by 15. Yes, I know you can send things to camp and all that sort of action here, but I'm not going to jump back and forth to camp to go get odd items here and there. I like having high carry capacity because I play these games like a goddamn pack mule. So that is how I'd have my stat spread. For my skills, I definitely would always go with some sort of thing that would give me insight and or perception. They're 2 really important skills when it comes to both conversations in the main story and trying to find things throughout the game. Now, if it is your main character too, I would try to find some sort of way to push in a conversational skill, either deception, intimidation, performance, or persuasion. You naturally, as a fighter, will have the access to intimidation as a proficiency, so that is a worthy option to take right there. But that's how I would split up my skill distribution. Athletics can be a good one if you want to do a lot of shoving, or even resist shoving as well, or if you want to go some sort of sneaking fighter, find a way to get stealth into here through your background. But that would be my skill distribution for a fighter. Speaking of background, let's talk about origin and background. And you can choose to go with custom, which is what I usually almost always go with, but you can choose one of the origin characters to play as. Lae'zel is your kind of default fighter that you can go with, and you simply would choose her. You also can go with the Dark Urge, which is basically a custom origin, but with this underlying plot of the Dark Urge, which is this urge that is dark underneath your psyche that is kind of urging you to do terrible, horrible things. And you can either resist it or embrace it. You can either become one with the Skull Throne or, like I said, resist such things. So if this is your first playthrough, it is definitely a fun way to go because it changes the way the game plays. So the second playthrough is entirely unique. Or if this is your second playthrough and you've already done a normal one, play through the Dark Urge. It is very fun, very unique, and it gets spicy. So those are your options right there. And then for background, please choose an RP for your background. Don't simply go and go, okay, what's the min-max of this? Just say, you know what, hey, maybe I'm a former soldier now, kind of turned soldier of fortune that has become some sort of mercenary as a fighter and is ranging out across the land to do some things here and there. Or maybe I'm a noble's son who's looking to make their own claim to fame rather than follow in their father's footsteps. Or maybe I'm a folk hero who has kind of waylaid bandits that have attacked towns and stuff like that. Whatever the situation is, make the background play with your character, because this background is what's going to give you inspiration points, which allows you to do re-rolls. And your inspiration point allowance or awards are based off of what the background would do, right? Okay, I'm a noble, so I would do certain things in this situation. Accumulating renown, power, and loyalty will raise your status, so on and so forth. So it kind of creates a role play for your character. But it also gives you proficiencies in 2 skills that you otherwise might not get access to. Example here would be noble, which gives me history and persuasion that a fighter does not get access to. If you want a min-max option, Guild Artisan, because it gives you insight, which I've said is so important, and persuasion, which you'll be doing in spades throughout the entire game. For your feat options, there are so many to go through. Improved ability score is always great, just to get your +2 into your strength. Get that hag hair brings you up to 20, or split it across 2 separate ones if you have 2 that are odd numbers and you want to get them to even numbers, whatever makes the most sense for you. After that, you've got stuff like Athlete, which is going to give you a half feat, meaning it's going to increase only 1 ability score. In this case, it's strength or dexterity. But when you're knocked prone, standing up uses significantly less movement and your jump distance is increased. Always great things things to have. Alert is nice for bonus to initiative, and you cannot be surprised, which is just lovely all the way around. Durable is cool here because it increases your constitution and you gain full hit points when you take a short rest. It's nice, but maybe the better one of these two is nope, it's not resilient. Oh man, where is it? I talked about it earlier in this video. Oh, tough, there it is. So your max hit points are increased by 2 for every level you have gained. So I'd rather have just kind of a raw hit point increasement. What? A raw hit point increasement? That is not a word. A raw increase to my hit points rather than dealing with this. This does also give you more constitution though, which is always nice. Great Weapon Master is absolutely amazing if you're going with a great weapon. It is definitely one you have to choose. When you land a crit hit or kill a target with a melee attack, you can make another melee weapon attack as a bonus action that turn. This just allows you to layer so many attacks in, especially if you're using Action Surge or a Potion of Speed, anything like that. Keep in mind though, you also have this toggleable ability. So attacks with heavy melee weapons you are proficient with can deal an additional 10 damage at the cost of a -5 attack roll penalty. So you maybe turn this off if you're trying to really hit a boss. It has a really low percentage chance to hit. Maybe you turn this off if you're just kind of blowing through chaff. Whatever you're trying to do, it allows you to maximize damage while suffering a little bit of a penalty to actually hit the target. Heavily armored is really good. So you gain proficiency with heavy armor. Nope, it's heavy armor master. Your strength is increased by 1. Now incoming damage from non-magical attacks also decreases by 3 while you're wearing heavy armor. There is a chance to get a special type of armor in the game at the end of Act 1. I won't ruin anything for you, but if you get that armor and you use this feat, your character will just never take damage. It's just, they will, but it'll take such a drastically reduced amount. It is absolutely disgusting. Lucky is always good to get rerolls on attack rolls, ability checks, saving throws, or make the enemy reroll their attack roll. Mage Slayer is nice to knock out a mage's concentration and give you the ability to do a reaction anytime you're in melee range of a mage that casts a spell. You can cast a spell, allows you to do a attack against them immediately. Now, if you do go with the Battlemaster, Martial Adept is what I was talking about in the Battlemaster section. You learn 2 more maneuvers from the Battlemaster subclass and gain a superiority die to fuel them. So this can allow you to really stack a ton of maneuvers. This would give you a total of 9 maneuvers if you chose this feat and the Battlemaster, and even give you an additional superiority die, which is always really fun. Mobile helps you move around quite a bit. Your movement speed increases, and difficult terrain doesn't slow you down when you dash. Also, you don't provoke opportunity attacks from targets whenever you leave them. There's a really cool wombo combo you can go with both Polearm Master and Sentinel, because Polearm Master here is going to allow you to use a bonus action to attack with the butt of your weapon, but you can make opportunity attacks when a target comes within range of you, which is really strong because you couple that here with Sentinel. So when an enemy within melee range attacks an ally, you can use a reaction to make an attack against that enemy. That's always lovely, right? But you gain advantage on opportunity attacks and when you hit a creature with an opportunity attack. So this Polearm Master, which is going to trigger that opportunity attack when they come into range with you, you now get advantage on it. So that's very, very lovely to have. If you want to go with more of a tank, Shield Master here is going to help out here. You gain a +2 bonus to dexterity saving throws while wielding a shield. If a spell forces you to make a dexterity saving throw, you can use a reaction to shield yourself and diminish the effect's damage. So you're either going to take you're either going to take half damage or negate the damage outright, which is really, really, really awesome. Again, we just talked about tough. Savage Attacker is great too. When you make a melee weapon attack, you roll your damage dice twice and use the highest result. So a lot of really, really, really great options here. If you go with Eldritch Knight, Warcaster is great to maintain your concentration, but also to kind of give you a reaction, reduce Shocking Grasp. A lot of really, really fun capabilities here to go with your feat selection choice in your fighter. Oh, also, before I close this out, dual wielder. If you want to go dual wielding fighter, definitely go with this. Because this allows you to use weapons that are not light in your offhand. So you can dual wield long swords if you so wish. And you get a +1 bonus to your armor class for doing it. So always great to use any of these if you need them. But progression for your fighter is going to be pretty linear here, right? You're a fighter, nothing crazy. Not like you're choosing a bunch of spells or anything like that. Level 5 is, of course, going to be a big breaking point for you and every character in this game. It's when you get for example, for fighters, you get extra attack. So whenever you do an attack action, you're now going to attack twice. This will be increased at level 11 with improved extra attack. So now when you do an attack action, you're going to attack 2 more times. So just to break it down, extra attack, attack action, you attack twice. Improved extra attack, you attack action, you attack 3 times. It's juicy. And then progressing through here, you just kind of pick up more abilities. If you're a fighter here, you now get your level 6 feat. This is a video on fighter, so you do get your level 6 feat. And then at level 7, you're going to get another thing for your subclass if it's granted to you. Not if you are pushing through here to level 8. We get another feat. Again, I'm just choosing stuff at random here, guys. Pushing through here, and we'll stop this at like level 10 or so. Level 9 is going to give us Indomitable, which we talked about before. You become as durable as an iron golem. Whenever you fail a saving throw, you can roll again using a new result instead. Now this does, of course, have a recharge of a long rest, but this can be used really well in the case that you're about to get hit with something really big and heavy and strong, or you're about to die. Whatever the situation is, it's nice to be able to basically dodge that or have an increased chance to dodge it with Indomitable. So always really solid options here for your fighter. But let's now talk a little bit about how we can go into our multi-class options here for the fighter. Multi-class options for the fighter are really honestly very similar to the rogue, far and wide. And it really comes down to action surge. You can play 10 levels in any class and have 2 levels of fighter for action surge and have a very strong character. So fighter is, again, one of those classes that I think is extremely strong because of that ability to sprinkle across the rest of the classes in the game. You have really good ones too by just simply combining fighter and barbarian, which have innate capabilities with each other. You can spice into fighter with wizard if you want to try and do something like that. You have all these different options. Don't feel like there's any kind of way to do this, I suppose, wrong. Now, what we're going to talk about is a fighter cleric combination. And clerics have their domains, so what we're going to focus on is specifically the war domain in this conversation, but you could definitely go with Tempest domain. Both of these really kind of thrive with fighter. You could even go with a life domain if you want. And the nice thing too about all 3 of these is it does have some sort of martial characteristic kind of attacked on them, but nothing near as much as, of course, the war domain. So let's go into how this whole thing is set up. So for my fighter cleric, I'm going to go with something like this. I'm going to put that +2 into either Constitution here or into Wisdom. I'm going to leave it up to you and the decision that you want to make for your cleric. Do you want to focus more on your casting capability? Go with Wisdom. If you want to focus more on getting up close and personal and doing damage, then just simply go with Constitution. Make the decision that works for you. And you're going to start off as a fighter. This is going to give you access to simple and martial weapons, as well as light, medium, and heavy armor, as well as shields. Now that's going to be the same as if you chose a war cleric, so you could start as a war cleric, but we want to get fighter level 5 first because that gets us extra attack. So let's jump ahead. Again, here we're just choosing levels, pushing up ahead. Now for your subclass here, you can go with champion if you want to do something that's a little bit more on the rails, but as always, I'm going to go with Battlemaster. It's just really strong, and it does a lot of really great stuff here. We're going to go ahead and progress through this, get up to level 4, and, you know, I'm going to go with, I guess I'll stick with the Great Weapon Master in this regard. If you want to stick with a shield, maybe you go Shield Master here. You can go with Warcaster, since you will be focusing on using a lot of spells in combat, since you are a War Cleric, but go with whatever kind of makes sense for you. I guess I'll just do, I'll do Shield Master. I'll assume I'm going to be using a shield for this build. And we'll get to level 5 for our extra attack. Now, once we jump into level 6 fighter, we're going to branch off into a cleric and go with our war domain. Your deity can be whoever you so wish. I'm just going to click one at random. Now, with a war domain cleric, this is the big thing. Warpriest. When you make an unarmed or weapon attack, you can spend a Warpriest charge to make an additional attack as a bonus action. Now, unfortunately, we are limited to level 12 in this game, right? So we're only going to now bring Cleric up to level 7. This is going to grant us 4th level spells, but we'll also just have a ton of great capabilities here. So if we take a look at even just stuff in this region, we can get Bless online if we want, Healing Word if we want. It really doesn't matter because this is the very beginning of what we're going to be doing. Oh, and we also get our cantrips here too. Getting guidance online, assuming you don't have Shadowheart with you, is always really good. Or if someone else has guidance, it's a great one to have. Thaumaturgy is lovely here. You can go with Sacred Flame to give you a range capability if you want. Resistance or Blade Ward there too if you want to go with something like that. Maybe go with Blade Ward because it's not a concentration spell. But we'll pick this and we'll start pushing through what the cleric looks like. Now, okay, of course, we're going to also get our channel divinity capabilities. We can turn undead, and we have Guided Strike. This is our Channel Divinity capability as a war cleric. So you gain plus 10 bonus to your attack roll. So this is really awesome to use in conjunction with Great Weapon Master, right? Which has that -5 penalty. We can offset that and even increase our chance to hit. This is really spicy and good. Oh, I didn't know you could choose that every single level. And again, I'm just choosing random things here and go Bane, doesn't really matter. I think Bane's concentration, yeah, Bane's concentration. So you'd use Bless or Bane. Pushing up here into level 3, we now get access to our level 2 spells. We can have a lot of fun with that. And we also get access to both Magic Weapon, infuse the weapon with Arcane Energy. The weapon becomes magical, receives +1 bonus attack, and damage rolls. You can just have this always on for yourself. It is a concentration ability, so keep that in mind. And you have the ability to summon a spiritual weapon just because you are a war cleric. So great capabilities all the way around. Hold Person is just absolutely amazing. And Enhance ability is stupid strong as well. Go ahead and press click here. Bring us up into level 4. We'll get another cantrip. I'll just click one here. And for our feat, we can stick with what we had before with Shield Master if we wanted to. We could jump into Heavy Weapon, Heavy Armor Master, I was saying here, to make ourselves even super tankier if we so wish, and go crazy with our spell options here. We'll go a little bit further. We're up to level 5. We now have Destroy Undead. When you successfully turn an undead creature, which are Channel Divinity, it also takes 4 to 24 radiant damage. We now have our level 3 spells, which get Spirit Guardians, always prepared. Spirit Guardians is one of the best abilities in the game, especially for the cleric. Radiant or necrotic damage, and removes turns their movement speed to half. Also, we get Crusader's Mantle, always fun. Their weapons attacks deal an additional 1 to 4 radiant. I would just go with the Spirit Guardian. I mean, who cares about the other one? And then prepare spells, we can swap off. Glyph of Warding is really good here at level 3 as well. Mass Healing Word if you want to have a bonus action heal for the whole party. A lot of really fun actions that you're going to get access to. I'm going to go ahead and put just Revivify because it's nice to have the ability to heal people without using a scroll if I don't need to. And there we go. I'll just kind of stop us right there. And you can see down, if we look at our character, we have all of this stuff to take advantage of, right? We have the ability to just go crazy with stuff. We have all of our Warpriest charges. So now we can use an extra attack without having to be like that level 11, right? Level 11 fighter is what gives us that double attack when we do an attack action. Now we can just do even more crazy stuff. Let's jump over to a fighting doll to show what that looks like. So we see this little guy right here. We can go ahead and just simply attack it. We have all sorts of cool fun abilities we can use. We can use this Warpriest. I thought we could use this Warpriest charge. We can't, so I apologize for that. But basically, when we would attack, we could then use a Warpriest charge to attack again. Point used to gain an extra attack as a bonus action. And that would give us a lot of fun capabilities. Remember, too, we also have Action Surge to put another action of attack into this. We have a whole other ability, too, with Trip attack from our maneuver abilities. So many fun things that you get to do with this combination. Okay, can't attack an inanimate enemy, whatever. And you can just turn on stuff like this. Spirit Guardians. So we have so many capabilities as a war cleric fighter that I think that you'll really enjoy this. It's almost like a super casty paladin and less of an actual cleric, right? Or a super militaristic cleric rather than just simply being a cleric. So a lot of really fun can be had with the war cleric fighter combination. And at that, it brings our video here to a close. So hopefully this helps you out in deciding if you're going to play a fighter in Baldur's Gate 3. And I think the video I have planned to show off some of the capabilities of a fighter is really going to show you that that class can be quite fun, even if you just take it on its own. And you can do a lot of fun things, spicing into other classes for multi-class options. And I think the fighter cleric is one of the most slept on multi-classes because the cleric itself is slept on way too much. It's a really, really, really strong class that has so many fun capabilities. You sprinkle in the capabilities of the fighter with the war cleric and you just have a really cool melee powerhouse that can also do some really fun spell casting. If you have any other recommendations for good fighter multi-class options, go ahead and let it be known in the comment section below. Or if there's any ways that you've approached the fighter that you really enjoy, hey, maybe you've gone with more of a dex route and going either light or medium armor to keep the dex bonus online for your character. Let it be known below to get people as many ideas that are jumping into the game for the first time. As always, though, thank you so much for watching here today. Have a good one and take care.